Hello, brothers and sisters. This is your boy BC. Welcome back to the Based LDS video, and we're going to keep this one short and simple. How about we just look at this week's comments? I've done a few videos. They've done well. I'm going to start trying some new things and come up with more doctrinal content. But I really like it when you guys reply and when you have stuff to say. So let's see what we have going this week, shall we? So we've got Catherine, and this is in reply to in the comments from the last one, April 19th. Look, people who believe the world is flat will find all kinds of evidence that it is flat. Same with anti-Mormons. They will provide all kinds of evidence against the church. If I accidentally stumble across one, I will click off it immediately. It grieves my spirit. An anti does grieve the spirit, right? That's the point. It's there to knock truth. And let's see, there's replies to this. Bueller. Who's surprised it's Bueller? And Bueller, in response to Catherine, says, it's ironic you say that, since most people who believe in a flat earth generally are a group of Christians who interpret certain Bible passages to mean the earth is flat. They also tend to be QAnon conspiracists who thrive on misinformation. And you're just projecting that on those evil anti-Mormons because you yourself love misinformation. Gotta say, Bueller, I think you're taking that a bit personal and you're on the wrong track there. I think she's drawing a parallel. I don't think she's saying that there's some weirdo Christians out there who are flat earthers. I mean, flat earthers are just flat earthers. They're just weird. And not all flat earthers are QAnon, man. Show me where you get that information. Show me your source, Bueller. See, this is the problem, Bueller. You make blanket statements. Like, she's just drawing a parallel. If you want to find evidence that something is the way it is, then you'll find the evidence that it is the way it is. And you take that as a slight and then go one step further with little to no information to back it up. Look, she's not stating a truth. She's stating an opinion. You can't knock her for an opinion. Unless, of course, it's that the flat earth is true. That's just a weird opinion. But seriously, dude, she's just saying, if you go looking for a type of evidence, you will find a type of evidence in anything. Seriously. But you have to go over serious with it. Bueller, come on, man. Receipts. Bring the receipts. And Catherine, showing she was bothered, says, welcome back, Ferris. See, she's glad you're here, Ferris. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I have a reply to the trailer I did the other day. JCal. I gave a Baptist preacher a copy of The Chosen back when I was visiting Utah. I was invited to attend an Antioch Orthodox service on Sunday. I'm going to be there, and then I will be heading to the sacrament meeting. I really want to become the man that the Lord desires me to be. Yeah, that's fascinating. I don't even know where you find an Antioch Orthodox. Everybody, I mean, the Greek Orthodox you can find, clearly Catholic you can find. That's just the Roman. But Antioch Orthodox, where are you at? That's kind of cool. Let me know how that went. I don't even know what they do, quite frankly. I don't know how their services run. That's going to be very interesting. JCal, way to go. And secondly, yeah, we should all want to be the men that the Lord would have us be, right? Good job. Well done, JCal. Let's see. And then we get Samuel on the book review by Hugh Nibley, Volume 3 book review, The World and the Prophets. 2 Nephi 29, my favorite line in the Book of Mormon. Yes, it's very bizarre that a group that says God's nature isn't changing would then say, no need for any more revelation. No, right? Like, I changed my mind. I like your talks on prophet and appreciate those videos. Thank you, sir. And I hope you like the videos I'm going to be doing on the Prophet Joseph Smith and the following prophets. We'll also be getting into Brigham Young on down, and then also starting some stuff on Abraham. He's fascinating. I've got some books on him, and I want to find, as far as various traditions about Abraham. Not necessarily LDS traditions, but Abraham traditions from other faiths or regions. Let's see. But yeah. What's Truman Madsen say? It's odd that those who claim the Bible says there's no more revelation when clearly there's a problem, because nowhere in the Bible does it say there's no more revelation. And this is the end. And here's our boy Bueller. Hello, Bueller. I hope this one's better. This is a perfect example of the anachronism in the Book of Mormon. There was no way those 600 BC Jews would have known what the word Bible meant, as the first Bible wasn't published until 1455. Oh boy. Okay, we'll come back to this in a second. Also, the same quotation argument could be turned against the Brighamite Church. If you reject the Book of the Law of the Lord, written by James Strang, and a self-declared successor of Joseph Smith, kind of like Brigham Young, no more need for revelation. How about Chris Namelka, who claimed to translate the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon? How about the Community of Christ, who is still adding sections to the Doctrine and Covenants? On a side note, at least they release new revelation. The best the Brighamite Mormon Church can come up with is no double piercings for women, don't let children of gays marry for 3.5 years, and no more saying Mormons after the church spent millions of dollars on the Mormon campaign. Okay, now that part's funny. That's funny. Where does the insanity end? Since the Mormons don't value any evidence, how is the Book of Mormon any different than the books I mentioned? Especially since the Mormon way of testing for truth is no different from the testimony of these people. As is my standard, I give likes for people who respond, no matter how dumb their responses are. Ferris, come on, man. Look, before I reply, let's see what Samuel says, because Samuel's got a follow-up comment. Bueller, we don't need physical evidence. That's what we call having faith. How do we know if it's truth? Through the Holy Ghost. Half my family has left the church. What I have noticed is that usually it starts with them being unable to forgive themselves over a serious sin. Then it leads to finding information to support their idea that the church isn't true. I get all the same points you make by my siblings who are no longer members, and whenever I ask them, how much time have you spent in your scriptures? Are you still attending church? Are you paying your tithing still? The answer is no to all of the above. My wife also is not a member. She left the church around 14. She was living off a borrowed light from her parents, who left the church after her grandfather left. So the reason I do not follow all of these other revelations is that after I read them, I sincerely pray with an open heart and don't receive any sort of confirmation. Also, they're outside of the doctrine produced by the church. I don't understand why your generation is so offended by the church making mistakes. It's almost as if all you haven't read any of the Bible at all. None of those leaders in the Bible were without fault in some capacity, except Jesus. Yes, Jesus was without fault. Now, I will say this. Samuel is right. We do not rely on physical evidence. And quite frankly, Bueller, that's the point of faith. And that's why I'm excited to be doing a lectures on faith video in the next couple weeks. Actually, several videos. Empiricism and observation only go so far. Christ testified all throughout the Bible that it was the Spirit that mattered. It was the revelation of who Christ was that came by the Spirit to Peter that mattered. It was, remember, Jesus saying to Thomas, blessed are you for believing, but more blessed are they, and I'm going to slightly butcher this, but you know what I mean, who will believe but have not seen. There is something about the power of the witness of the Spirit, the third member of the Godhood, that stands as stronger evidence than even sight. And I'm going to say this, Samuel, I'm sorry so many of your members, so much of your family's left the church. I don't think you're alone in that. I've got some family members that no longer attend as well, and it's heartbreaking. And they've all got various reasons. Sometimes, yeah, it is because of sin, and they're like, well, why should I have to pay a price for that? Why should I have to feel bad? But, and there is something, like you said to your wife who lived off borrowed light for a while. You can live off borrowed light, but eventually you need to get your own. And you do need to have your own. So Samuel, thank you for speaking up. All right, Bueller, look, your very first argument. This is a perfect example of anachronism in the Book of Mormon. I was thinking of doing a response video. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was talking about the problem of the presence of the word atonement in the Book of Mormon. Because the word didn't exist, and it's only used, it's only used once, but not really in the Bible, and it's a later translation. And see, here's the thing, man. I speak another language. Well, I used to. I know when you haven't spoken it for a while, you lose it. But we're not dealing with word-for-word translation here, man. You're dealing with concepts. I have no problem with the concept of the atonement as the atonement is understood, and thereby expressing that concept as the word atonement instead of expiation or fill in the blank. You can work on a translation of an old work and use modern concepts in your translation, because you are dealing with concepts and ideas in Scripture. The word Bible, what word would you use if you're talking about a collection of records used by the Jews? Are you just going to use the definition, or are you going to go with the common word we use today, Bible? You want to call it Torah? Maybe it's not the Torah, not completely. You can't, because a lot of the writings of the other prophets didn't exist, so you don't have the complete Bible. At least as far as when we're talking about Lehi leaving Jerusalem and the records they have, and you get different variations on what they think Lehi took with him as well. So don't get tripped up in the word Bible. It's just a concept. They're talking about whatever word they wanted to use for whatever Nephi called the scriptures they had. Joseph was like, Bible, because it's about the record of the Jews. Simple as. Just like the atonement one that the other guy. I should do a video on that one. I should find that again and do that, because it is so. And I need to solidify my argument, though. I mean, I have it up here, but coming out of here, that's not always fun sometimes. Look, there were lots of self-declared successors of Joseph Smith, right? Sidney Rigdon, so many. The brethren, the majority of the 12, followed Brigham. Sidney, not a member of the 12. Strang, I think he's the guy that just produced a letter that said Joseph Smith said I'm the next prophet. I think it's Wilford Woodruff's journal where they have that. Joseph was like, follow the majority of the 12, because it was talked about, it was discussed, but nothing was recorded officially. That's the problem. Joseph got in trouble for not recording a lot of what should have been made plain and evident. I don't know Chris Nemelka. I don't know about somebody reading the sealed portion of the Book of Mormon. It's just a claim. Community of Christ, still adding sections. They can. Heck, I can add a section. Let's keep in mind, Joseph Smith left it open. It invited the brethren to come up with revelations and see how they stood up. And they failed across the board, and they acknowledged Joseph as a prophet, as a revelator. So I don't get caught up in some of this stuff. And a lot of the other things you talked about, like the gays for 3.5, no children of... I will say this, that was actually a policy I approved of because I understood it. I understood it. You're baptizing children and you're going to teach them homosexuality is a sin, and then sending them back home to their homosexual parents. And then go, all right, kids. So they have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and understand what the covenant means. Because at 18, if they're baptized and they decide to leave the church, then they're breaking their covenants. Anyone who leaves the church has been baptized has broken their covenants. If you don't believe in God, who cares? If you don't believe in God, you're like, I don't care if I broke my covenant. Covenant with who? It's a covenant with a non-existent being. But in the church, we acknowledge that the covenant is real. And therefore, we don't put people who cannot be responsible for those decisions in place to make a covenant and then to break it later on in life when they are more responsible and more mature. It's a safeguard for their souls. I have no problem with that policy. But you see there, you're talking policies. Double piercing. Policy. Hey, ladies, we suggest you don't double pierce. At one time, lady missionaries, skirts and dresses. Men missionaries, white shirts. All sorts of things are changing. Phone calls, twice a year. Now I watch these missionaries with cell phones. I'm like, you're spoiled, you wuss. Yeah, but that's because I'm a salty old man. But Bueller, like honestly, these things are dismissed. And you don't have to agree with the dismissal. You could say my dismissal is weak. And it is, because it's not, I'm not doing a full thing on this, but come on, man. Let's see here. And then also to Hugh Nibley, Samuel, in a whole separate comment. Not a fan of Rough Stone Rolling, the book by Bushman, for the same reason that Hannah Stoddard doesn't like him either. The church has been plagued with faith belief lacking historians and professors that done a lot more harm than good. This is why I find the name of that channel ironic, because it reminds me of a poorly written book I once read. I'm not afraid of our history. I just want it to be more accurate. I will definitely subscribe to that channel, though. Good. Honestly, I know but we need... Bushman got the title from a comment by Joseph Smith that he was a rough stone rolling, and that the rolling polished him, chipped off the rough edges. So I love the title for Bushman's book. I love the title for that channel. And I've read Rough Stone Rolling. It was interesting. I'm not going to say I felt a ton of spirit off it, but I do think it was strictly a scholarly work. Strictly scholarly. So he's got to adhere to certain standards. And I will say, I know the Joseph Smith Foundation, so I know Hannah Stoddard that you're citing there. Or at least I'm aware of her. I don't know her, but you know what I mean. I will say, I understand the argument she's trying to make. Like, Bushman used all these poor sources. Like the seer stone, there's no evidence of the seer stone until at a certain point in time when Joseph Smith could not debunk it. No one was really around to... And none of the primary people who worked with Joseph on the translation ever said he used a seer stone. They called it translation. And then you come down to so why would the church put a Gospel Talks essay in on a stone? And see, the thing is, I don't like Stoddard's arguments either. She seems kind of petty to me, and I want her to provide more evidence. And I know she's like, Leonard Arrington, read it in his diary, and I've not read the Arrington diaries. I don't know that I will. I don't know that I care that much. And the man may have had a problem with the Holy Ghosters. His testimony may have been intellectually based, but quite frankly, I respect the heck out of Truman Madsen. Anyone who's not heard the Truman Madsen lectures on Joseph Smith and on Christ, he did 2 of them on Joseph Smith. One was so popular. And the lectures, he originally introduced them in a pamphlet form as a tract while he was a mission president in New England. He used historians like Bushman to help him collect his information. I don't know for sure, but I've heard Bushman has been a stake president and a various other leadership positions. And while he does present a very scholarly approach to things, by all accounts, he still tries to walk and work by the Spirit, though. I'm not going to say his work is perfect. There may be problems with his scholarship as far as what sources he's using. But when I listen to Hannah, she just kind of repeats the same thing. I'm like, okay, now show me why. And instead it's like, well, because there's no. Then where's he pulling it from, and why is he using it? Why isn't it, and or how's he putting it forth? And I'd kind of like to sit down with her and have her explain it more and better. Because when she talks, I'm just left like, well, but, and then I come up with a reason why she, like an argument against her. It's not a debate. I wouldn't want to have a debate, but I would want to have a conversation with her. I don't know how you reach out to people like that, though. But yeah, the Rough Stone Rolling, they've got some Nibley, they've got some Madsen. Go with it. It's good. Just to go back and hear that stuff, it's fantastic. Oh, here we go. It's not the historian's fault when they find out the church has been teaching a false narrative the whole time. Is history only accurate when it matches your confirmation bias? You lose all credibility. I'm assuming that word is if. You lose all credibility if you mention Hannah Stoddard as a resource. I'm assuming you meant if, not is. Look, I like some of the stuff Joseph Smith Foundation puts out. But yeah, when she goes off on Bushman and Arrington, I kind of cringe. But Bueller, man, nobody checks their bias at the door. When Hannah Stoddard talks about Bushman, she's just saying that when it comes, in her opinion, in her perspective, when it comes to, say, the seer stone, and I'm going to use this one as an example because that's the big one. He got his information from one source that was anti-Mormon and never went to any of the sources about how he did translate that would have rebuked or debunked that. So it was, and her problem is, as it seems to me as her problem is, there's no counter narrative. There's no counter argument. It's just, Bushman says, well, this guy said this thing, therefore it must be true. I mean, like Truman Madsen noticed, Joseph Smith was arrested a lot. I mean, that right there, an anti would come through like, Joseph Smith was always being arrested for blah, blah, blah. But like Truman Madsen noted, Joseph Smith was only found guilty once. So of all the times he was arrested, he was found not guilty. And the one time, and again, this is according to Madsen, the one time Joseph Smith was found guilty and convicted, what was it for? It was like for healing somebody or something like that. I don't know. And I'd have to go. I'd have to try and look it up. And the thing is, Madsen cites his sources. I don't have the books, but Madsen cites his sources. But Madsen's like, and once he was found guilty, they also understood that there was no law against what Joseph Smith had done, so therefore he'd really broken no law. He did what they say he did, but it was not against the law. Therefore, go home. But Mueller, everyone goes into these things with their biases, right? If you want to find, that's what Catherine tried to say earlier. If you want to find something, you're going to find it. Some people will stick to their theories doggedly and never change. Some people will go, maybe this isn't quite right, and they'll adapt their theory. Or they'll understand, the evidence does not match this at all. This is the way things really go. You get the idea. But Bueller, I was introduced to you because you did not like what I had to say about Lynn Wilder. I wasn't wrong. Everything she got up and stood on that stage and said was a complete mischaracterization of the church. And I didn't make a video to debunk or refute what she was saying. I just said, hey, those of you that go to church, you're going to know that this woman is incorrect. And I think everybody that watched those videos, they kind of got a chuckle wow. I go to church and I've never seen or done the things this woman's talking about. I read the Bible. I'm not afraid of Scripture. You get the idea. You heard my video. You had your bias. And without talking about it, you're just how dare you slander? I didn't slander. You can listen to her video and talk about what the church preaches and teaches. And you can tell she's just not correct. She's just not. But hey, you follow your bias. I've got, in this case, empiricism. I know you're supposed to teach the Bible in Sunday school, and also in seminary. And these, it's ridiculous. And now, this is where I have problems. I click on comments, and these are all the new comments for the week, but I know there's more than this. I know that because I was on my personal channel. I go back and I watch the videos on my personal channel because I want to see how I look and how I can improve. And right now I can hear my mom screaming, "Don't film your videos in the dark, you glow." Hi, Mom. Because it's dark behind me. I don't have the lights on. But I'm not trying to read anything on my computer screen, so I like the lights off. But I was on my personal account, and I don't remember what video I was on. But somebody got up there and they said, "This is your problem: is you don't do enough thorough research." It was a chunky comment, and I was really hoping I would find it here today. But the comment was roughly, you don't do enough research, you don't know the changes that have been made to your church and your doctrine and these things you're talking about, the ordinances, the changes in ordinances, so I'm going to assume it was to a Mormon Rescue video. Matter of fact, let's do this. Let's go to Mormon Rescue and see if that's what it was. But honestly, I'm seriously, dude? You think I don't do research? Yes, I do research. Now, these are quick videos. Sometimes it's just, I'll do research for a day or two. But this really, you don't talk about absolutely everything and anything in these videos. You talk about what's more practical, what's more comments. Yeah, okay, I don't see it here. said, I do see some comments here that I did not see before, but not that one. So maybe I'll talk about those. But there was a comment that I don't do any research and that I don't understand the history and the changes. And I do. But it's a matter of bringing up what's appropriate and what's fits within the context of the video. Look, I'm going to do a video on the temple to get back to some of this Mormon rescue stuff and the change to the endowment. You need to understand changes take place. When the church was first organized, something I bet the majority of members don't know. So here's how I show you how researched I am. They were repeat baptizing each other. They wouldn't necessarily baptize each other every week, but they'd be like, okay, I got baptized to come into the church, and I'm getting ready to leave for a mission. I should be extra clean and have more spirit with me. Let's baptize me again before my mission. I'm gonna. So like the brethren were doing had been baptized into the church for several times, and it'd be like, oh, okay, now I'm baptized into the kingdom, and now I'm baptized for this repentance and baptized for this remission of sins, and they were doing this because the understanding of the doctrine took time to be fully grasped. And here's an interesting idea, because people are coming into the church with their preconceived Christian notions. And so, yeah, you got baptized to enter the church. I wonder when, hey, one baptism only, because the sacrament is now your weekly baptism. That kind of basic idea. You guys know what I'm talking about there, right? You're recommitting to your covenants every week when you take the sacrament. I wonder when that was fully understood so that multiple baptisms were stopped. But you have all sorts of multiple baptisms. You have disorganization and the work for the dead. And when it comes to the temple, see, here's the thing. The Kirtland Temple was built solely for washings and anointings. No endowment room, no sealing room, no fill in the blank. Washings and anointings. That's it. The Lord accepted the temple, and then with time added further light and knowledge. And then Nauvoo was going to be built for washings, anointings, and endowment work for the living. The concept of the dead came a little bit later as far as endowment work. And who could baptize for who, and how it was to be done, and these things took time. And this is one of the things like I said, I read a lot of books. I did go back on my last trip to Denver, and I got the Wilford Woodruff and Spiritual Development of the Temple Doctrines of the Temple. Because Wilford kept such a great journal, and he was instrumental of so much of the temple work. But he talks about from his first time in, he goes, and today I was baptized for this, and on this day I was baptized for this, and also my wife was baptized again. And then they talk about, and I did the anointing again, and Joseph, Wilford's got it in his journal that Joseph was like, hey, these things aren't correct, but it's done enough that you guys have the basic idea to get it done. And then once they left Nauvoo, they waited for the building of an endowment house in Utah before they were practicing again. That's years. They kept these things in mind and memory for years until they built the endowment house and started doing work again. And then it was, all right, Wilfred. Brigham's like, all right, Wilfred, I'm putting you in charge of organizing and systematizing these revelations. So, I don't talk about multiple things because there's no need for the context of those at the moment with some of these things. If there's ever a need, I'll bring it up. I ain't scared. No one out there should be scared to hear it. It's always further light and knowledge. Further light and knowledge. Here's a little bit. Go with it. Get it right. When you've got it right, here's a little bit more. Just because we're not adding to the Doctrine and Covenants does not mean there's not new revelation. Sincere members everywhere understand that. And that's why we cling to the words of the prophet around conference times or in the various magazines, because they matter. So let's go. So we're back on this Mormon Rescue. It had to be the Mormon Rescue I'm at. So for any that think I don't know, that you Mormon Rescue guys, any of you think that no one's aware of these changes and you guys somehow have access to some great knowledge or secret, it's just not true. So, in Mormon Rescue, the Mormon Rescue video, Anthony says, some of us, and I have not replied to this. I like videos that I've replied to, and there's no likes on these. So Anthony says, some of us have spent 40 plus years focused on the church, and it influenced every decision and act during that time. Some of us are Mormon through and through. Every family gathering was centered around lifetime achievements in the church. Our most powerful life experiences are in the church. When someone leaves and they hear this comment that they can't leave it alone, only demonstrates to them that the commenter obviously doesn't hold the same level of faith they did while they were in. Hopefully this helps you with future interactions and comments. Have a great day. And Anthony's not replying to me there. He's replying to Dick. And Dick said, thank you, Norman the Rescuer. Like it has been said, you can leave the church, but you can't leave it alone. Modern Korihor. And so, there is something to that. I think it kind of feeds the flame. I watched such a cringy video. And there's a commenter out there named Exmolex, and she is as vapid as they come. Just empty skin suit that lets the world tell her what to think. I know that's not positive and uplifting, but if you ever watched the video on why she decided she was bi, you completely understand. TikTok convinced me I was bisexual. I never knew. TikTok. I hate TikTok. But yeah, these people get up and they knock on the church, and honestly, I'm about to say we should ignore them when I've done video comments and responses to them. But the problem is their videos get people to go, hey, I wonder. And then BK replies to Anthony and says, they say that so people in the church will never hear the reasons why people are leaving the church. No, we know why people are leaving the church. CES letters. unanswered prayers, problems with church history, like Joseph Smith and polygamy, or polygamy in general, or blacks in the priesthood, or Book of Abraham, or we know why they're leaving. The problem is, and it's not fair to the people who leave. It's not fair that we say, well, why wasn't their faith strong enough? Why couldn't they just have faith? Because it's not fair to them. It's not fair to say that to the people who leave. But then, quite frankly, the people who leave think that those who stay in the church and are aware of the problems are just blind zealots, or are, as someone said somewhere else, misinformed or ignorant. I'm not going to say that the members of the church are the most brilliant, educated, and aware, but we're not morons. We can see the church for its warts, and we look and we go, there's still more good to it than bad. It's not perfect. Like Elder Holland said, it must be rough for Christ to have his perfect church run by imperfect people. I paraphrase. You know what I'm talking about. But people struggle with coming to church for other reasons, right? I mean, I know people that struggle with coming to church because they have an issue with something and they feel that the people in the church will look down on them or judge them. My opinion is most people in a church are too busy worrying about their own stuff to judge or condemn another person. I think those people who do judge have too much free time on their hands and they need to work on self-improvement. And no. I walk that back. I think people who condemn others have too much free time and need to work on their improvement and their repentance and work on their own faith. Because we are supposed to judge. I hate when the world uses that word. Don't judge. You can't judge me. Yes, I can. And you should judge me. Is it worth your time to listen to my videos? You need to have a judgment. You need to judge for yourselves whether what I say is useful and productive. You need to judge for yourself whether it's worth your time to listen to what I'm saying. We should be making judgments all the time. The caveat is that we make righteous judgments and we don't condemn. And I don't condemn anybody here. I love the fact that Bueller's replying to things. I know he's watching my videos. Thank you for the click-through, bruh. I would wish he would come up with some better commentary when he feeds back. But hey, he is who he is. He's watching my videos. I thank him for that. And I want to say this. I am so thrilled. I went up to 169 subscribers. I was at 168, dropped to 167, and I was feeling, I was not going to lie, here's where pride comes in. I want to thank you guys who have subscribed to and watched and liked any of my videos. Not everybody likes them. Not everybody watches them for even half a video. But you guys make the world go round. It does. It strokes my ego when I know that somebody likes me enough. They think that something I have to say is valuable enough to subscribe. So 169 out of the 7.5, 8 billion people in the world right now like me. You really like me. And I don't get a lot of views, and I wish I got more, and I wish I got more comments because I'd love to have more to talk about instead of just running at the mouth like this. But then I look up I think one of the finest one of the finest how do I put this? Apologists out there. Robert Boylan. He's been at this for a while now. Like, he's been at this for six years. He's got videos going back 6 years. And he is a genuinely brilliant guy. And he does slides with information, and he's very in-depth what he talks about. He is a theologian. He is a been to school, been there, done that, learned these languages, know this stuff theologian. And he does interviews with top LDS theologians. And he looks at stuff inside and outside of the church history, church doctrine. And he's got 861 subscribers. And I think the man's a genius. And I really, if y'all left me to go somewhere, I would say go to Robert Boylan. The man, it's scriptural Mormonism. You can either search scriptural Mormonism, or you can search Robert Boylan. Like, here's the most recent episode he did. Episode 37, A Critique of Reformed Theology by Andrew Lamont. Episode 36, Mormon Doctrine in the Apocrypha by Ken Peterson. A Latter-day Saint Critique of Sola Scriptura, 3 weeks ago. Hour and 40 minutes. He's fascinating. I hope that one day I have the chance to just talk to him and interview him and pick his brain, because the guy's fascinating and he's brilliant. And he's got the most wicked Irish accent you ever heard. I think he's living in Utah now. When he first started this, he was doing interviews in Ireland, and so the internet connectivity was not great, and there'd be some lag in his videos, but he does some great interviews, and he has some great insight into Reformed and Catholic theology. And so, yeah, I'm like, where's my 10 million subscribers? I've been at this for 6 months. He's been at this for 6 years, and he's got not even 900 subscribers. And he's 10 times the guy I am when it comes to talking about this stuff. So there's my 2 cents. If you want to check somebody out who goes deep onto something, Robert Boylan, Scriptural Mormonism. Fantastic. Maybe I'll do a highlight. Maybe I'll highlight one of his videos one day. I know I talked about him early on when I talked about how to prepare to be an apologist. But he's a great guy. Just fantastic stuff to listen to. Anyway, brothers and sisters, I've rambled. This video is now much longer than it should be. I love you. Have a good weekend. Thank you for watching. Peace out.